Spider-Man Brand New Day is out, and now we are ready to talk about it.
Oh no, this is impossible.
Dr. Doom is master of the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sacred Rewatch. If you're a first-time listener, my name is Ethan Bronson, and this is where we are rewatching every project in the MCU in chronological order and beyond, leading up to Avengers Doomsday. It is wildly popular on social media right now to show everything that you need to watch in Doomsday, and I have one small critique, which is what they're putting out on social media as the absolute must-watch list is about 10% of what we have watched. I think right now it's at like 200 hours, somebody said. Well, I'll have to do my math maybe mid-episode to figure out how many hours we have watched and how many hours we will watch leading up to Doomsday, but I can tell you what, it's going to be a hell of a lot longer than what's on social media. So if you want to be a part of this wild ride and not watch all the movies and not waste your life, I mean, we've spent a year and a half on this. This is the podcast for you. So please make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to today. So one last thing before I introduce my co-host. I deleted social media leading up to Spider-Man Brand New Day because I was spoiled by a little potato. That was a big reason why I saw that scene, and there was like a little snippet, and I thought, oh my God, I just ruined the end credit scene. So I literally swiped up on TikTok, click delete, Twitter, click delete, Instagram, click delete. And then a few hours later, Brody texts me about the movie, and I go, I'm muting the chat. I can't hear from anybody. I don't want to know anything going into this. So we have not talked, actually. I think Brody was the only one that responded to my text message. Wyatt asked me about something else in another group chat. Didn't respond to him because I was worried. I was very worried. So this is our first time talking. Today, I'm joined by Wyatt.
Hello, everybody. To piggyback off what you said, every time I see one of those Instagram posts or TikToks about like what you need to watch before Doomsday, it makes me so mad. She's like, who the hell do you think you are with your list of 15 movies that are just MCU movies, you know? And you tell me you're not going to watch Jessica Jones season 3? No, Iron Fist season 2.
And we're joined by our co-host, Brody.
Hello, everyone. To piggyback off of that, everybody's list just assumes that you've seen everything before Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's list is just like, here's 4 of the projects that came out after that. And it's like, that's the crazy part to me.
Well, and what really bugs me on some of these lists, I was looking at one that had like 300,000 likes.
They're actually arachnids.
It was like an AI generated list. It looked really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it looked very well organized, and I'm looking through, and then I see this project on here. It's called Kingpin. I go, excuse me? What? And then somebody in the comments goes, did you just make up a movie?
It's a self-produced fan film that he made, and he's trying to sneak it in there.
Right.
So not only are we talking about every movie, but I self-produced, manual labor, no artificial intelligence, created this list from scratch because we have our own unique take on the watch order using Disney Plus. But as we know, that is not the absolute source of truth. We have to really go into it. So if you're ever interested, go check out our playlist that's on YouTube right now. And so, yeah, let's get into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Who would like to go first? Maybe let's start with Wyatt. I know he's got something on his mind.
I got a lot on my mind. Let me preface this with, I very much enjoyed the movie. I had a very fun time watching it. And I think it was another classic MCU Spider-Man, which, you know, the bar is very high for these MCU Spider-Mans, but they seem to always at least hit it, you know. They may not be fantastic, but they're always relatively better than a lot of the other stuff we're getting. I would consider this a very small potato Spider-Man movie, MCU-wise, which I have heard a little bit of complaints like that, mainly from my mom, how this movie was boring or so straightforward. I called it the superhero's odyssey, you know? Superhero dealing with emotional stuff, helping a government guy stop the bad guy, stops the bad guy, finds out the government guy was really the bad guy the whole time, goes and helps the person he was stopping the first time, saves the day at the end. And I think a small potato Spider-Man movie was very much what we needed post No Way Home. You know, you can't have every movie be these giant, let's bring in everyone from every movie ever and have basically a Spider-Man Avengers. I really did like the fact that this was a Peter Parker story that, on scale of what he was dealing with in the last couple times he showed up with, his own movie and Endgame and Infinity War and stuff, I liked this was very self-contained. I appreciated it being somewhat of a smaller in the grand scheme of things. I also very much, I thought it was shot beautifully. I thought that the dynamic swinging, or whatever they called it, before they started filming, looked amazing. I really did enjoy the change in tone from John Watts to, what's his name?
Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought the fight scenes looked great. I enjoyed the way that New York was presented. They do a good job at those other three Spider-Men. New York sort of represents that sort of childish wonder in our Peter Parker. Whereas now, the skies are cloudy. The music is different, tonal wise. The city he isn't interacting with the city in the same sort of quippiness as he always is, And I just thought that was a nice little touch that really shows where our Peter Parker was at mentally. So I overall very much liked the movie, enjoyed the movie a lot.
I think you nailed it exactly. And I could definitely, as soon as I got out of the movie theater, I could totally see people somewhat complaining that this is a simple Spider-Man movie just on the surface, because there's generally one problem that you're trying to accomplish, which is stop Jean Grey, which we'll talk about in a moment, Jean Grey and what happens next. But I think the most fascinating part of this movie does come down to Peter Parker. Tom Holland's rendition of Peter Parker, his issues that he's trying to deal with. Because I think why it's so fascinating is because it actually hits. You feel for Peter Parker trying to deal with seeing his best friends, whose best friends don't acknowledge him anymore, trying to not only just get through in the short term, but we go through the entire, I believe they were in masters for 4 years at MIT. Is that correct? Or 3 years?
Like they have fully graduated college by this point.
So seeing, the social media posts that Ned was putting up and that MJ was putting up, talking about their time through MIT, and seeing Peter Parker still at home by himself with no family, no friends, and him having to deal with that, I think was incredibly fascinating. And I think we're really just scratching the surface, because at the end of the movie, it kind of alludes that at least Ned knows Peter Parker, right? He was starting to come back with his memories. But I have
actually.
Well,
one
thing I would like to say, whether that's the case or not, he still did miss out on 4 years of friendship, right? Very crucial time in a young adult's life, which I hope they continue to explore. Like, yeah, I'm really happy that we remember each other again, but we did miss all this time together. And I kind of hope that their friendship is still a little fractured from that. Like, I kind of hope they continue to go back that, because the normal human would not be able to immediately go back to how things were right away. So what were we going to say about Ned?
Two things. I enjoy the sort of 4 year gap as well for two reasons, and aging up Tom Holland's Peter Parker at this time is a great time to do it, where Tom Holland's not really believable to be a 18-year-old kid anymore. But he still does look very young. It's much more believable that this Peter Parker is 23. He's hitting his early to mid 20s. And I think he captures that vibe great in this one. I think I agree that having them graduate college kind of sets in a much more wow. It's not like he's been without them for a month or a year. It's been 4 years of him being on his own like this. Which makes it also make more sense on the whole transformation with the spider stuff. It's been a long time of him solely being Spider-Man. I've seen a lot of stuff that he didn't necessarily remember Peter Parker as his friend, But when he's leaving the apartment, MJ says, "Peter, be safe." So he knows. And then he goes, "Oh, Spider-Man is named Peter." And then when Peter introduced himself as Peter Parker, he kind of makes it in his head that's Spider-Man, not so much his friend, you know. But and I also so we talked a lot before before the movie came out that I was a little worried on how they were going to address the Ned and MJ stuff in terms of like, are they going to get their memories back and just rewrite or erase the sort of emotionalness of that No Way Home ending. I do think they handled it in a pretty good way. Where like at the end of this movie, they don't remember him per se, but they do have laid the groundwork for them to sort of maybe regrow that friendship. But they've also left the door open enough that it's understandable that it might not really ever be the same as, like Ethan mentioned, it should be. There's a Stephen King book about the assassination of JFK, where basically this guy time travels, and at the end he time travel. He like once you're there, you have to live there forever. Or not, like you can't like he travels the same day every time and has to stay there for like 5 years. Basically, he meets his wife, and then his wife ends up dying, so he goes back to restart it, and then he realizes in the book that you can't really do that. Like if you like, let's say me and Ethan forgot who each other was. It would be extremely hard to recreate that friendship, me knowing all this stuff and him doesn't. It just, realistically, it's pretty much impossible. So I do like the idea of these MCU movies sort of doing that, or Spider-Man, without having the magicalness of, boom, you remember all your stuff again. Like, you just remember it all. Like, I would like to see that sort of, them deal with fixing that relationship. In the way that, like, yes, they do still feel things on the inside, but they don't really understand what it is. And for example, also like MJ said, she should have why didn't he tell her when he had the chance? Now it's so much like now it's been a whole 4 years without like that sort of memories.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it exactly. Brody, I'd like for you to chime in here. I know you said that you wanted to hold off a little bit because sometimes your opinions come off as gripes, but I'm dying to know how you feel about it.
About the movie as a whole.
The movie as a whole, we haven't heard from you yet, so I want to hear it.
I agree with Wyatt. I really liked it, but what I've mainly been using as a comparison to it is Far From Home, in which this is more of a necessary step than a like blown away reaction. I think the format of this movie really messed with me, because the whole point of the format is they kind of switch it to focusing on Peter Parker at the end instead of Spider-Man. But my brain was still in Spider-Man basic MCU movie format. So I was like, I thought there was 30 minutes left at the end. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh wait, there's no one else to fight. There's nothing else to do. So I guess this is the end of the movie. So that's something where I think upon rewatch, that would make more sense to me. I just have to adjust to the format that it was going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I don't know. It's tough because the reason I expected also 30 minutes is because there's a good point in movies where you're like, oh, we've seen everything from the trailers and we still got a lot of runtime left. I wonder what's going to happen. So I didn't think that the final, like, the hand fight was like the final fight. So that was also a tough thing because that had been advertised so much. And we had already seen him with the black eyes in that scene and stuff like that. So it was kind of hard for me to see that as the end of the movie. Now knowing that on rewatch, it probably makes more sense. But I did really enjoy the movie. But I wanted to know how you guys felt about the, you know how they've said there's the 3-character MCU Marvel thing with Sony? Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't.
Like the deal that they can make a Spider-Man movie, but they're allowed to have like 3 people from the MCU.
Oh, gotcha.
Like I think in No Way Home, it was Daredevil, probably Happy Hogan, and then the last person would be like Doctor Strange. You know how people were saying like that's why Doctor Strange is in the movie so much and all that stuff. So in this movie, once I realized that, it kind of made more sense to me that it was Punisher, Yelena, and
Hulk.
yes.
Gotcha.
So once I don't know. Like I love all the characters in the movie.
Mhm.
I think they were great. But there's a certain extent of that where it's like, I don't know. I there's part of me that wishes other Marvel movies had this deal, so stuff would feel more like these people
Cohesive.
know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even like a purely fan service thing. It's like, no, this is how it should be. Like
Mhm.
it's fun seeing how Spider-Man interacts with the new Avengers and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Well, I guess it would be 4 though, because Jean Grey. So I
Yeah.
don't know
but
how
she's
that
not,
works.
She's not pre-established, which I think plays a bit of a factor with it.
The Jean Grey stuff was interesting. I appreciate the connection they were making. But parts of it didn't feel complete to me. I think it was maybe the fact that he just kind of sees her in the car, and then after that, she kind of does seem threatening when she's like possessing people, but at the same time, she doesn't seem like villain. So, and once you get the actual villain reveal,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get much time with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she was bad in this movie. I think it's more of like a personal thing of like, I haven't really seen Sadie Sink in much else other than Stranger Things. So
It's
it's
just-
kind of hard for me to see her as Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just so out of place is also kind of how I felt. Like, it is Jean Grey in a Spider-Man movie being presented very much as the antagonist for the first hour and 15 minutes.
But my theater didn't even react. When he was reading the names and it said Jean Grey, no reaction at all.
I had some people go, ooh, but like, who didn't know that was Jean
I didn't have one
know?
person do that in my theater because, like you
Who
said,
didn't know
everyone
that
kind of
was
knew
Jean
it going
Grey?
into
Yeah.
it. And the sister thing was interesting because I had kind of retcon in my mind, and I was like, did she have a sister in X-Men? And that's why the
I don't
parents were getting Xavier and them there. But no, the sister doesn't exist
Yeah.
ever.
No,
I think
she that is a completely like new entry into all.
And I
of
was
the
wondering,
live
I was
action
like-
Marvel
Marvel.
goes, who's her sister? Who's like, I don't know.
And I was
don't know.
50-50 because I was like, it's okay. Like, obviously you need motivation behind this stuff, and it's an interesting way to do it. I thought it was just going to be she killed her parents, which I thought was that makes more sense based on what we've seen in the X-Men movies before. I was like, okay, she accidentally kills her parents. That's more interesting to me. The one thing that the sister connection does give is it gives a connection to Yelena being in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Her reaction when she hears in the files that she had a sister is like a very cool, like, let's remember that the Black Widow movie happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And those are two sisters that have red hair and blonde hair. So it's a cool connection.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and it's just, it kind of did make me think about like how Yelena was thinking in some of these scenes when she's being called Black Widow and she's kind of in the place of her sister now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which I think this is the first movie to actually call her Black Widow, right?
I think so.
I don't think she was called that in Thunderbolts. But then again,
She
Black
definitely-
Widow,
she
she's
definitely
a
is-
Black Widow.
Yeah, but I think
So
from the
now
terms
she's
of a
taking the
title, she
title
definitely
for the
deserves
Avengers.
it.
Totally. But I'm just saying, I saw some people having like some, like, oh yeah, let's remember that she's dead and she's not coming back in Doomsday to our knowledge, you know what I mean? So I saw some people being sad about that, which is one of those things where it's great to see. It's great to see like a death in the MCU that actually has impact and has lasted, and not come back, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a shot in this movie which made me really, really happy. So, as you know, we've been doing YouTube for a long time. We've gone through many iterations. There was at one point, me just for fun, planning out a Spider-Man thing. And I was playing a lot of Spider-Man games, a lot of stuff like that, which this movie takes a lot of inspiration from.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to recreate this because I couldn't find my little Spider-Man book. But this was the shot layout, sort of, for what would have happened. This dude throws Spider-Man over this side, and he's like, doing the classic, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Got him,
Yeah.
right? Spider-Man swoops around and kicks him, right? Classic scene. Stay with one camera movement would be great. There's a scene very much like this in the movie where it kind of starts from this pose, so you don't see him thrown off. But he swings in, and there's a really cool, like, one shot on the rooftops of him taking out some guys. I think it's pretty early in the movie, during the montage sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most, like, Spider-Man looking quick moments that I've seen in any Spider-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, him just swinging onto a rooftop and wiping up those guys is, like, so PlayStation inspired, and it's really good. And like you were saying, I really like that it's gray looking at that start of the movie, because you're seeing him do really heroic stuff and heroic poses, and it's like iconic. And to keep the skies gray is like a reminder that, like, Spider-Man stuff looks great, but you know what I mean, Peter Parker's struggling. I think that's a great aspect to it. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. There just was some things where it's like I got to adjust to it and rewatch it. Some of the music choices, some really worked. Some I was like, that's kind of an odd choice for that right there. But yeah, we'll see.
This movie, I think, it's not even a complaint, but it's just like I think the characters in the movie were great. I think Tom Holland's Peter Parker was really good. I think Sadie Sinks Jean Grey was at least acted well. Like, her acting was great, and whether or not the character of Jean Grey fits in this sort of role is a whole different story, which we'll talk about, I'm assuming, in 10-ish minutes. But John Bernthal's Punisher was fantastic. I think Mark Ruffalo's Hulk did great in this movie. Trammell Tillman, I think, was amazing in this movie.
Milkshake.
I'm a huge fan of his.
Or Mr. Milkshake.
him and his character in Severance is amazing. Like, he's won 2 Emmys from Severance.
He is a phenomenal actor.
He's a great
I am
actor.
going to put it out there.
And the way
I am
they
all on
cast
board
him,
for seeing him in many more projects to come.
the way they cast him in this, his just the role he has in that Damage Control captures what he does best in Severance, which is that sort of like straightforwardness where he's kind of being an ass, but also like he's so charismatic in the way he speaks that you're like, you just believe with him or side with him. And yes, I'm not saying there's not a second in this movie where you're not obviously, he's probably the bad guy at the end of the day. But, not even so much the bad guy, just like traditional government dude, which, I'm not glad he didn't have like secret powers or anything. But did he just do it on the fly? There's no way. I'm
more impressed that he's drawing away from him.
all of the characters I think are great, and they're picked well. The chemistry between John Bernthal and Tom Holland really makes that role work super well. You can tell that these two guys have acted with each other for a very long time. All of their scenes together are great. The Punisher, I think, is a nice little addition to have in the Spider-Man like type of movie, just because he is he's different than Peter Parker, just in terms of like his viewpoint, his life experiences, the way he goes about things. And I think they do that as well as they can for a Spider-Man movie. Obviously, you can't have him like going full on Punisher, but they do have subtle hints and nods at like who he is as a person. I just think that, like I said earlier, like the only part this movie sort of struggles in or makes it necessarily not as good as, like, I think No Way Home was better. It's just the scale of it all. It is a very straightforward superhero movie, which doesn't make it a bad thing. But when you're comparing it to other stuff that's come out, you can understand why some people have that sort of opinion on it. For Jean Grey, it is a bit of a weird fit, because it kind of just makes you question, like, where are they going with that character? Like, I think the way they presented her makes me think that when they do X-Men, which she's confirmed to be, and they've already announced their list of like who the X-Men are going to be in the first X-Men movie, I think you've already kind of you have to lean very heavily into sort of like the troubled youthness of it all. Like all of your characters need to have the sort of like Jean Grey background that she has instead of just like being kids. Because she does do some pretty bad things at the first hour of this movie. You know, like she does kill people, she does hurt people. So you're gonna have to deal with that when you come to your X-Men movie, and they've also already they kind of present her in a very like dark way, which does make the Dark Phoenix stuff, if they decide to ever go there, which is 10 years in the future, more understandable. Like they have laid the sort of groundwork for it. It just kind of feels like a weird character to introduce in a Spider-Man movie so far ahead of the X-Men, because the X-Men aren't coming out till post Secret Wars, which is two more years, if even not longer. So I just feel like it's a very weird time to use a character like that.
No, I agree. You know, up to this point, I haven't really given much thoughts on Spider-Man. I'll tell you exactly how I felt after the movie was over with. And one thing before I do say that, I finally did the math. Just out of curiosity, as a small little side point, how many hours of content do you think we have scheduled, and what percentage of that do you think we've watched?
Is this
And this is just scheduled to Doomsday. This is not counting anything that we're going to be watching between Doomsday and Secret Wars.
600 hours.
It's actually 431 hours.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yep. We've watched 75%.
Oh, wow. Look at us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
If anybody's curious on how much content that is, if we were to watch them back to back to back to back, that would be 18 straight days.
Okay. It's not that bad when you put it like that. We could have grinded this out.
All right. So what was I thinking right after Spider-Man Brand New Day? I felt a sense of positivity. And I also felt a sense of, I need to watch this again to really take this in. There was a lot of different themes in play, at least in terms of how the plot played itself out. The first 10 minutes of the movie, I got huge Fantastic Four First Steps vibes, because you have this comic book style, you know, Spider-Man's fighting all of these comic book origin villains. You've got
The
Tombstone,
montage.
you've got Scorpion. Spider-Man's been up to all these things. It got a lot of Fantastic Four First Steps vibes. And then the rest of the movie, I got a lot of Thunderbolts vibes, just because of the dark nature of it, dealing with mental health. And I've really been thinking about that a lot. And I actually think both of those themes were done on purpose. When you look at who directed Fantastic Four First Steps, you have Matt Shakman, who apparently is on board to direct not only the sequel to the Fantastic Four in the MCU, but I would assume that he's going to be a part of many MCU projects to come, just because he does get it, right? He put out a great project, and especially for the Fantastic Four, which will probably be a huge, crucial part of the MCU moving forward. And then, really, the other aspect of it is who directed Thunderbolts and what is his role. Jake Schreier. He arguably is going to be the biggest director in Marvel for not years to come, probably decades to come. He's got his name attached to the first X-Men movie, and I got to imagine he's going to have his name attached to a lot of X-Men movies moving forward. And I think that
Dream scenario. I just want to say real quick. Dream scenario is Cretin and him working together on a movie with Hulk, Wolverine, a new Wolverine, right? As much as I would love it to be Hugh Jackman, we got new X-Men coming in. So it'd be Hulk, new Wolverine, and Spider-Man, and kind of revive the MCU trio.
Well,
but then again, if the whole reset happens, then
that is the OG3. You know, when you go
It is,
all the
dude.
way back to the comics, that is the OG 3.
That'd be a great.
So when you
movie.
take those two directors and you take Destin Daniel Cretton, which I do believe is going to be a crucial part of the MCU, one would argue he was going to be the guy because he was going to direct Avengers King Dynasty.
Yep.
And then you add a director of Black Panther Sinners,
Ryan
Ryan
Coogler.
Coogler.
Those 4 directors, I think they are going to have full direction of the MCU moving forward. I think those are the 4. So anytime their name is attached to a project, that is going to be incredibly important.
I think Ryan Coogler less so.
I think he's too. I don't mean this to sound like MCU
He
slander.
produced.
He's too good.
But he produced Ironheart, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it was in Black Panther 2.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on if he continues that. If he doesn't and he only does Black Panther 3, then I don't see him being involved as much.
Like,
it just depends on if he's trying to do Black Panther 3 and then kind of have it content with a new Black Panther and then let someone else take the reins, like let Michael B.
That's what I
Jordan
could
direct
see.
a movie or something, which I would really like to see him direct it since he was Killmonger. Like, I think that would be really cool. And I think Creed 3 was great. But it just depends on if he keeps producing. If he doesn't, then I kind of think the other 2 are going to be around a lot more.
Yeah.
Just because Cretton, I mean, I'm sure the Black Panther movies have really high percentage of liked rates, but Destin Daniel Cretton stuff is like all above 90%, I think, between Wonder Man, Shang-Chi, and this. And he's just able to jump around. So
well, I think Ryan
he might
Coogler.
have
I think
more
Ryan
interest.
Coogler is currently one of the best working directors in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
But that's why I think he might want to.
That's why
at some point he's going to have to move away from the MCU.
That I agree. That's
to
what I was
just
about to say.
purely
I think
focus on that stuff.
like after the success of Sinners, obviously I think he was, he is Black Panther is his baby. You know, he's made the first 2, so I understand why he wants to do the third. But I don't really see him doing much MCU stuff after Sinners, after Black Panther, because of the recency. Like he's starting to hit the prime of his directing career. You know, he's had great movies before Sinners, and Sinners is his first like massive hit, won an Oscar. So I very much I don't see him doing much MCU stuff post Black Panther 3.
Whereas Cretton kind of feels like a
MCU guy.
James Gunn dedicated to just wanting to bring comic characters to life, which is really cool.
My only thing to bounce off of that, because on the surface, I do agree that Ryan Coogler is definitely at the prime, and there's on the surface, directing an MCU movie, it's not as much about cinematography and story as it is just pushing the story along. But when you look at the announcement that Ryan Coogler is going to involve 70 millimeter IMAX to the movie theater, that was something that he definitely put out there. And Kevin Feige said, yeah, what portion of the movie is going to be directed in 70 millimeter IMAX for Black Panther 3?
BP3? Wow. I like the guy a lot they cast for Black Panther.
Yeah.
He's really good.
So I think Kevin Feige is letting these 4 directors saying, hey, you guys can kind of do whatever you want. I trust you guys. You get it. So I think that little stuff, as well as, like you said, Black Panther being Ryan Coogler's baby, maybe he gets, sparked by another character that correlates to Black Panther or wanting to do something else. I think he's a little bit different in that sense of he feels passionate about, a specific set of characters, and I could see him creating a even bigger passion for future projects to come. When you talk about really getting into comics, you could have, maybe Black Panther 3 has some intersection with Storm, and then he's like, yeah, you know what? I want to direct a Storm movie, or I want to direct an X-Men movie that's got a lot of Storm emphasis to it. Maybe there can be a Black Panther character in there, and then you can start to see him. Maybe, I want to do an X-Men movie, and then it turns into I want to do another X-Men crossover movie, or I want to do whatever it may be. I just really think that after watching Spider-Man, I mean, I wasn't really thinking about all these things that I said just now during the movie. I was kind of just taking it as is. And can we talk about the sound and score in this movie for a second? When I heard Tame Impala, I was just
Dude,
It's a good needle drop.
stoked.
it was that one and the Steve Lacy song at the end
Mm-hmm.
really, really ground the movie's soundtrack. Like I said,
Yeah.
there were other ones where it's like an adjustment where it's like, okay, so I mean, obviously our Peter Parker has had 4 years of listening to new music, and he's
Yeah.
going through a phase right now, so you have to adjust to that. Like I said, I think there was just one song that really threw me off. It was after he was testing his real webs, and it's right before he goes and fights Scorpion, and it only plays for like 15 seconds. Like, it's very short, and then they kind of just cut it. I don't know what song it was. I don't know if that was the Bad Bunny song that people were talking about, or if that played at the party.
Yes.
I don't know. But it played really quick, and it was just like, I feel like it kind of took me out of the...
I know what you're talking
I
about.
wonder, like, especially the scene after that is so dramatic that it's like, I almost wish it was more of like, you're just watching him try out the new webs.
Mm-hmm.
Which I wish we did get a little more of that. I wish when he was first starting to swing, it was more of like a Spider-Man 1 with Tobey, where he's accidentally swinging into walls and stuff.
It's
Like,
probably
I would have
the
liked
Bad
that.
Bunny song you're talking about, because from what I can see, that played for about 10 seconds. And from my memory, that does sound about right.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember
I'm
the
not saying that
itself,
song's
but I
bad
remember
or anything,
it
but it's
came
such
out,
a dramatic scene.
I was like, this is a weird choice, and then it ends before
Yeah.
you even have a chance to really like.
And because,
Yeah.
like I said, he has the freak out on the roof, which is really cool. But like I said, I wish we got a little more like, oh, he's got to adjust the swinging to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that's okay. That's just one of the notes. But other than that, the soundtrack's amazing. The simplified version of the Spider-Man theme, more dragged out. Like Giacchino said, he was going to write a whole new score since it's a whole new set of movies. Instead, he went back to the old score, took out most of the notes, so there's long pauses in between, which is really good for him grieving here. I hope that we not just return to the Spider-Man theme from the Homecoming trilogy, but I think there's a way to go back to the full Spider-Man theme from those movies, but maybe make it like just less spry and more like heroic, like a lot more brass or something. You know what I mean? I think there may be a point where we do get back into that. But
I could very much see it going
the
the Guardians of the Galaxy route, where the first Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, that theme, like, you can hear right away, and then Volume 2, it kind of starts to not go away from it, but create its own version, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's continuing on that branch, and if you compare Volume 3 theme versus Volume 1, they're starting to become very different. So if they went something along that route, I was perfectly fine with Brand New Day not having a bunch of the rehashes from the home trilogy of Spider-Man. I'm okay with that.
Guardians 3 had a different composer, right? I think it did. But the Guardians theme is in the movie at the very end.
It is.
I remember that movie had a different vibe, and I checked, and I think it wasn't Brian Tyler.
It was John Murphy.
Okay. But yeah, I think remaining with the same theme and reinterpreting it was a really smart move, because we're already switching directors, and especially the music is like the emotional core of the character, combined with Tom Holland, obviously. So I think maintaining the original theme was really smart to do. But this is like the first time we're seeing like a composer stay this long on one character for their movies. I think we've seen in the MCU, which is amazing. Especially because Giacchino just keeps the themes from the characters' projects really well. Like when he did the Doctor Strange music. So in the last movie, that was incredible when he was doing the fight between them, because he's composed both. And in this movie, I can't say I recognized any Thunderbolts music, because that has a very different Winter Soldier kind of vibe to it, which I love, but I can't say I recognized any music in here from it. I think probably because like the Yelena scenes were just talking. I don't even think there was any music in those scenes, maybe. But I remember I did like the music around the Hulk fight, I really started to wonder. I have to listen to it again or watch the movie again and see if there is a new Hulk theme, because I don't think Hulk has an established theme in the MCU at all for music.
Not in the MCU. He does in his standalone movie, which I actually do adore
totally.
that theme.
It's one of the.
But they have not
Everyone
reused
loves
it.
that theme. Yeah, so I was trying to keep my ears keen to see if they were going to use that theme or do a new one, and I didn't catch anything there. But there is high strings in this movie in a lot of scenes that sound very much like the opening note of the Danny Elfman theme for Spider-Man, which I thought was very cool because, again, he's met those guys. And there's one scene in specific, but I think it does happen twice, where there's like two notes that sound a lot like the Amazing Spider-Man theme.
I am with you.
Like I think it was like the dun, dun, like I think it was like the high notes from. It might be TASM 2's theme, right? I think it's TASM 2's theme, but it was just, I really liked those moments. But then again, they're obviously taking from the original Spider-Man theme, like TV show theme. I think all of them. So it might just be the same notes from that. But being that this is a Spider-Man that met Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I thought the music being like that was really, really cool.
Yeah,
I have a lot of notes for you guys, or like topics for you guys, if you guys want to jump into them.
Yeah, I have one that I want to get to first.
Yeah,
okay,
you go ahead, Wyatt, and then I'll say one thing before we go.
This is the only what I would consider opportunity missed in this movie. And before I get into this, I want to preface it. I understand that contractually with Sony, they probably just can't do it yet. But it was it was right there. I could freaking feel it. That Wolf's oldest son should have been Miles, because they set up perfectly at the start this sort of teaser that he doesn't remember the kids' names, very much like a Chekhov's gun situation. Like, interesting. Why have that line in there the first? I get it's to show that Peter's so Spider-Man-y, but they have it there, which opens up your mind to the fact that this may get mentioned later, like we've seen it Into the Spider-Verse. Miles' dad, a cop who has a good relationship with Spider-Man as a working in a work relationship. It just would have been a perfect little setup to have, like we talked about earlier, wanting Miles and Peter to have a connection outside of being Spider-Man. That if at the end he goes, oh, and say hi to Melina and Miles for me. Can you imagine how crazy the theater would have gone at a Miles Morales drop? And then also we could talk end credits scene when we get there too, because I think that,
So, Brody, the one thing I will say about whatever the talking points are, I'm perfect. I mean, we've gone through the story already. I'm more interested in maybe getting out what we need to get out about where we see this moving forward, because we will be rewatching this on the Sacred Rewatch coming up. I'm looking at the date right now in November. So if you're interested in a little bit more deep dive of the story and the characters and how they flow through, we will be discussing that again on the Sacred Rewatch when it comes up right before Doomsday. So yeah, the end credit scene. The end credit scene and our thoughts on Jean Grey, which I still want to get out there. We can definitely get it. One thing I do want to say though, or I want to ask you guys about your movie theater experience. You guys said that you're a little underwhelmed. Is that correct?
No. What are you talking about?
No. I think the emotional core moments between Tom and Zendaya, the first rooftop one, the possessed kinda, and the in the Punisher boat scene were really good. Just like the whole audience like feeling sad. But I didn't have like a super excited, like heroic, like people like clapping when Spider-Man like wins a fight or something. I didn't have that. But mainly I was just pointing out that the Jean Grey audience wasn't a huge reaction. You also have to remember I was watching it at like 1:00 in the afternoon, so it wasn't like a late night thing. So maybe that's why. I assume a lot of people that were really excited to see it probably saw it that night, or the night before. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't take away too much, because this isn't a movie like No Way Home, where No Way Home is like, that was a really, really fun audience. You know what I mean? But it was okay.
My theater was I thought you meant were we disappointed? And I was like, no,
No,
the movie
no,
went
no, no.
exactly. The movie went exactly how I thought it was going to go. So like, I came in expecting a superhero movie, which we got. But no, my theater, there were some murmurs, some ooh and ahs when Jean Grey popped up. But like I said, not a single person in the world didn't think that was Jean Grey. I would have had more reaction if it was Typhoid Mary. I would have been like, oh, whoa, there was, and then some claps and some cheers at the end credit scene when and some like gasp reactions and stuff, which I really liked the end credit scene for how simple it was. I thought it was really cool. You don't get many like MCU credit scenes like that. They're either simple and dumb or so on the nose,
Yeah. So the reason I asked that is more to tee up my own rant, which I'm about to go on here in a second. So Brody, you can get the music going in the editing, so you won't hear any of this.
This was something while I'm watching.
I thought this
Spider-Man.
was something. I
You
just
almost
don't
turned
understand.
green.
I
Gotta go see Spider-Man. And
It was me. That was my first Spider-Man movie, and I loved it.
Your dog's
it's a
doing a
small
bark.
potato. It's a
Did you want to watch Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Get your hands off
Now
my popcorn.
right?
Like, who you going with? Like, myself and my popcorn? Like,
They serve like alcohol, so Oreo shakes.
is this the polio epidemic?
Everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the
All right.
movie. Jean Grey.
All right.
I liked that they thought, you know what, let's put an X-Men character in a Spider-Man movie. I love that. But in the specific time and place that this is the last Marvel movie leading up to Doomsday, it's a little off-putting. Mostly because this is a brand new
Yes.
Jean Grey. There was no, and I was watching a video by New Rock Stars, and they were talking about how they actually never said she was a mutant, and that's probably for legal reasons or contractual reasons that Sony
But they very much
can't ever
mentioned
like
it.
say the phrase mutant.
Yeah.
They said that she was different or something along those lines. They never said like explicitly.
Well,
mutant.
they mentioned that they don't know how she got her powers.
Mm.
That's why
But
they're doing the brain
I
scan.
think
Like,
this
we're trying
movie,
to find
yeah,
the
like you're
source of
saying,
her
this movie
powers.
sets up a lot of stuff. Peter Parker
I-
making a chip that shuts down people's abilities.
Inhibitor, yeah,
That's
that's
gonna
coming
come
back.
back.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those where it's like you just see her on the bus at the end. Like we're not getting to that X-Men point,
she
which is like
for
if
sure,
Doomsday
also-
wasn't happening, that would have been the end credit scene or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm sure.
I agree.
I was joking with my friends. This is another talking in theater thing. I kept joking about that scene at the end of that X-Men movie where he's talking through his mind, and I kept joking that it was just going to cut to Charles Xavier being like, "Hello, my name is Charles Xavier. I'm a mutant like you." Whatever that
ago, where,
speech
like,
is.
She rolls in and you see the wheelchair from a shot up, and she's like, "Hello, Jean Grey. I'm building a
Well,
house."
you know the scene I'm talking about, right? When all the
Yes.
kids escape. I don't remember which X-Men movie it is, but they're like running to the forest, all like the young Cyclops and stuff. And then there's like the Patrick Stewart, like he looks like he's on a green screen because why would they fly him out to a forest for one day?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "I'm a mutant like you," and I just kept joking that he was just going to show up in every scene. But yeah, it's one of those where, like you're saying, this movie made me wish Doomsday wasn't happening and we were just continuing the MCU.
Just continue it on the X-Men front, right?
Because if
I
it
would've
was,
loved
if
that.
you treated X-Men with the hype of Doomsday, and we're like, we're going into X-Men after this movie, would have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
If we had an X-Men movie slotted for where Doomsday is, I kind of wish it was that. Like, I know there's this build-up that we have to have, but like that would have been okay. We're entering a new phase of the MCU, and I think that this phase is convoluted. I think that's not like a controversial thing to say. But there's a lot of movies that do line up well with a theme. There's just a lot of stuff that doesn't. Like when you look at it as like, oh, we're grieving after Endgame. But it's mixed with like, oh, we're starting up a new thing and still having fun. It's a very weird mix. Like obviously grieving is like the phase of the MCU that we're in right now. Like Black Panther 2, this, Thunderbolts,
Guardians,
even Black Widow,
3.
which came out like
I think there's an
even
argument
around
to be
that.
made.
Yes, Guardians 3. We got a lot of sad characters here. I just feel like the core of that theme hasn't been fully explored. And I assume that the resolve of it will not be dealt with in Doomsday. Because Doomsday is dealing with more of, we're bringing people back. Not, we're dealing with them not being here.
So the last thing I'll say about Jean Grey, like right now and where this is going, I will be okay with Jean Grey being in this movie if the following happens. One, Jean Grey is not this Sadie Sink Jean Grey is not in Doomsday. That would be okay. I prefer that.
Agreed.
Two, if she is in Secret Wars, which it sounds like she is confirmed to be in the movie, I would be okay if she's in Secret Wars if she has a very minimal part, and two, she hasn't reached not even Phoenix Force power, but also not full Jean Grey power, and which they started to explore a little bit in the movie. I did like that this is like the most infant version of Jean Grey's powers. She can only, reach somebody 33 feet away. Because even in theaters, I thought, I remember Jean Grey being a lot more powerful than that. She's only held to 33 feet. Like, that's kind of
Omega
crazy.
level mutant.
So they started to explore that more. So as long as those things happen, where she doesn't hit full force, and this is kind of like the beginning of Jean Grey, which they'll explore in the post Secret Wars movie with X-Men, that she's like scarred by Doom and she's scarred by what happened in Spider-Man, and then they continue on that, all things will be okay. But at the same time, though, it's just weird to do it now, you know?
Yeah, I thought that she was going to be, like, I thought the Phoenix was going to be who was doing all the stuff at the start of the movie. And I was like, that's cool. Because then you're kind of getting the Phoenix stuff out of the way, and then she'll have to earn her being a hero back. Obviously, that's not what happened. But still, that's what I thought in the beginning. In the casting, like I said, I don't love the casting. But I think it's a result of we had a few new character castings for younger characters in the MCU that we're trying to do like a Tom Holland, hey, you don't really know this actor, but they're good as the character thing. And I don't think they connected that much. You know what I mean? Like I think since people didn't really like know Iman Vellani, if it was someone from Stranger Things, people probably would have watched Ms. Marvel more. You know what I mean? As great as she is in that role. So I think more of these X-Men castings, as we're hearing about it, is more of like, I'm sure they'll be great in the role and they'll make a good movie out of it.
I don't think we're going to see a bunch of
like
A-list
I would have
actors playing
loved
these X-Men characters.
no names.
I think one
So
would argue.
far, they haven't been, I wouldn't say A-list, but of their age demographic, they are pretty well known. The names that are being thrown around right now.
I will say, I think Sadie Sink is probably going to be the biggest one we get of casting for the X-Men. Mostly because
Cooper
of Stranger
Hoffman
Things.
is
right
not
now-
playing Cyclops. There's no way.
The talks going around are Samara Weaving, as of recent.
For Emma Frost.
Yep, and which I don't know the confirmation on that, of course. I'm waiting until D23 to figure out if they announce an actual
I think
cast.
there's going to be a lot of X-Men announcements for the X-Men movie, and they're not going to say anything about, like, these characters might be in Secret Wars, which they probably will sprinkle in a little bit, which would be okay. I would actually like for them in Secret Wars, as much as I want it to be like a finale of finales, they probably are going to sprinkle a little bit, just kind of how they did with Endgame, right? You have Wanda sprinkled in, you have Sam and Bucky sprinkled in, you have Thor and Guardian sprinkled in. That's okay. We still need to push the story forward a little bit.
But Kaylee Spaney, I think that's how you say her last name. She was the other name getting thrown around, which makes sense to me because they already have someone from Romulus being casted in the MCU. So like I said, I think they're pretty well known for the demographic. I don't think they're as new casting polls as like America Chavez and stuff like that. I think that they saw that that wasn't working. Like it's the same reason I think we're getting Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider now. I think it's the same reason we're getting Ryan Gosling in Star Wars now. As much as we like the this actor isn't really paired with any other characters, so let's see a new actor, new character. I think we're kind of in like movies are like event things. So having someone that's really well known and brings people in that don't know the MCU as well, I think is a really huge thing right now. I think that's why we're getting Ghost Rider now, of all things.
Well, they're hedging their bets post Secret Wars. Like what after Secret Wars, we're probably going to lose a lot of the characters that we've fallen in love with. You know, I mean, I probably got to make some assumptions that Benedict Cumberbatch is probably going to be done as Doctor Strange after Secret Wars. Brie Larson's probably going to be done as Captain Marvel. Chris Hemsworth's going to be done. Tom Hiddleston's going to be done. Like these characters, although are newer to the MCU in terms of not starting from 2008, they're older when it comes to the grand scheme of things. The MCU has been going on, by 18 years now, long time. So I think they're kind of hedging their bets of like, what is going to cause people to show up to movie theaters post Secret Wars when all these characters they've grown up watching are gone.
I think that's why we're seeing directors switch up too.
Yeah.
Where it's directors that have either been in the MCU before or people like Ryan Coogler. I think we'll see more pulls like that.
Yeah.
Of just kind of crazy directors.
Who pulled this up? Is this Wyatt? Yeah.
This is me. I love screen sharing.
Is this your photo from the theater?
No, it's a felony.
Okay.
Wyatt, kick us off. I know you want to talk about this. Let's do it.
Credits roll. Screen goes black. I'm thinking, you know how Marvel likes to do it with their second post-credit scene. Usually some goofy, dumb stuff. And this pops up, which I'm at first like, okay, that's cool. And then, it starts beeping, and then it starts zooming out. And as it's zooming out, it actually, built a little bit of goosebumps. I was like, ooh, whoa. So we have the Spidey tracker, and then, it keeps going new location, unknown. And it zooms out, and it shows Spider-Man in space. Now, a couple of things I think this could mean. Most likely, and item number one, I think it is just them saying that Spider-Man, and then, obviously Spider-Man will return place. Interesting that it says Spider-Man will return, not Peter Parker. Just put that out there. Very similar to the Guardians 3, where it says Peter Quill will return. Keeps it a little ambiguous. No one knows
Peter Parker.
It keeps
I
it a
thought
little
it says
ambiguous.
Star-Lord will return.
No, it says Peter Quill will return.
What?
Yep.
No,
Really?
I'm pretty sure it says Star-Lord.
Well, you Google it while I do this.
Okay.
Because
I remember it being Star-Lord.
confident.
But maybe it is Peter Quill. Just to clarify that nobody's taking up the mantle of Star-Lord.
Mm-hmm. So, a couple of things this spider tracker in space could mean. Reason number one, and probably the most
I was
likely.
right, by the way. The legendary Star-Lord will return.
Okay, but it doesn't say Guardians.
Yes.
It's important.
Very clear.
Potential what this means, number one, and probably most likely, is it's just saying that Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man will be in Doomsday. We kind of figured he would be. He's one of the biggest working IPs from Marvel right now. Very obvious to me, at least. The only reason Yelena was in this movie is so someone can call the bug guy when the big iron mask dude is hurting everyone. Hey, I can call Spider-Man. I have Spider-Man's phone number. Call up Spider-Man. Boom, he's there. Potential thing number two, it could mean. It could be a reference to Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man being on a different Earth, potentially, for Doomsday. And then, the big potato, what it could mean, is this could very much be a Miles Morales setup or tease. I know I'm starting to look like that Charlie Day meme where he's pointing at the wall of all the connections for Pepe Silvia, but I see Miles Morales and everything. I try to, I'm looking for it. So, in the comic run, the way Miles Morales is first introduced is he is the Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe. And in Marvel's big Incursion run, which Doomsday is very obviously based off of, we all know what Incursions here are. Miles Morales in the Ultimate Universe is colliding with Peter Parker and the mainline universe. So, they fight each other because they're all fighting to stop the Incursion. And Peter's like, hey, there's another Spider-Man. Miles Morales like, that's weird, there's another Spider-Man. And then, Doom creates Battle World at the end of this comic run. Very, very, a lot of people believe that Battle World is where the end of Doomsday is going to end us. It's going to end with Dr. Doom creating his one universe Battle World. That is where Peter Parker and Miles Morales meet and become friends in the comic storyline, The two universes are collided to one mainline universe, which happens to have two Spider-Men. I think this potentially could mean that, because another reason number two, I don't see Peter Parker going to the X-Men universe in Doomsday. It just doesn't really feel like it would fit tonally, I don't see, but I also don't think this means Miles Morales is going to be in Doomsday. Reason number one, that casting would be insanely hard to keep under wraps for as long as they would have had it done. Number two, also tonally, I don't see why would it make sense for Miles Morales to be on the X-Men Mansion, which is the only place I believe they go in Doomsday outside of our main universe. It could be Miles Morales on Doctor Doom's team. And also, when you're watching this and it rolls, it does sort of glitch, And I know that they couldn't really use the glitching in the MCU Miles Morales storyline from the Spider-Verse, but it just had a very Spider-Verse sort of tone to it, the way the colors shift and it glitches a little bit. That's about it.
As much as I would love Miles Morales to be introduced to the MCU, I'm hoping that they continue to take their time with it. I don't want it to be rushed. And if they were to introduce it in either a Doomsday or Secret Wars, I would feel like it's rushed. At least in Doomsday. They can introduce Miles Morales in Secret Wars.
I don't think it's Doomsday at all.
I actually think it's 1,000% certain that we are going to get our official first look at Miles Morales in Secret Wars. I think that is...
And all the talks from Tom Holland about passing the mantle and Kevin Feige, So what do you think this means? Do you think this is just saying that Tom Holland Spider-Man will be in... Or do you think it means Andrew Garfield or Tobey?
I think it's specifically Tobey. There have been so many rumors out there about Tobey Maguire being specifically in Doomsday. I actually don't think Tom Holland Spider-Man is going to be in Doomsday. One being this movie actually, if you guys remember, was supposed to come out after Doomsday, and it wasn't that long ago that they remember we did our emergency podcast not that long ago when Doomsday got canceled or got postponed, and Spider-Man I think had already been filming. So I don't think they did any massive rewrites. They felt like this was standalone. Kevin Feige had an interview as well saying, somebody had asked him, like, is this leading up to Doomsday? And he said, it's not like right before, it's not after Doomsday. It's just before Doomsday.
Yeah.
I just don't think that, because we haven't had the confirmation, if Tom Holland's Spider-Man was going to be in Doomsday, just from a business perspective, you need to have him in the marketing. Why withhold that information?
Well, it's very possible that he will be in the marketing going forward, since they didn't want to, he didn't want to show him being in the movie till his movie was out. It very much makes sense that now they could announce, oh, by the way, he's there.
Right. Well, and what I also thought was interesting was Tom Holland did an interview. And somebody asked him, like, hey, where were you when Comic-Con was going around? He's like, I was in, like, China or something doing press release for a Brand New Day, and I saw all my friends there, and I wish I could have made it, but I couldn't, which I also thought was interesting. And I was thinking to myself, well, maybe, especially in the day and age...
Odyssey stuff.
Yeah, and in the day and age where now D23, because Marvel has such a big umbrella, Comic-Con and D23 kind of compete with each other. They probably said, you know what, we need some big time release that Disney can release on their behalf. Big potato at D23. It is possible if Tom Holland is going to be in Doomsday, we'll know at D23. And if it's not announced at D23, I can confidently say he's not going to be in the movie.
Which I'll be at D23. I probably won't be at that panel since they're paying to get into now. But I will be there recording and trying to update on that information.
Okay.
But to the more technicalness of this end credit scene, I thought it was very well presented. I think it's a great little end credit scene that opens the door for conversation like we just had. It could mean a handful of things, and it's also not so on the nose of like a scene or a shot. I thought it was presented really. I think it's a really just well presented sort of teaser for whatever it ends up meaning.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope it isn't Miles, but at the same time, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was introduced in a movie that was a near Avengers movie. And then he got a solo movie. But I don't know. It doesn't feel as gradual. Like I said, I kind of hoped that they would hint at it in this movie and build up the people surrounding Miles. And then we would get that. But I think they just aren't confident in how long it's going to take to actually get to the Miles at this point. That it would be odd to kind of cast his family and then not get to
if
him
it is
and what
Miles,
his age has to be. And
no part of me thinks Miles is in Doomsday outside of potentially being on Doctor Doom's sort of squad or team, like bringing in a Spider-Man to fight a Spider-Man. But I think it's very much a Secret Wars to post-Secret Wars thing. I don't see him being in Doomsday. I think this is more of just a teaser that he may exist out there, if it is him.
Right.
Well, and I think the most realistic probability is Tom Holland Spider-Man will be in Doomsday, but just in a post-credit scene. My other theory is that if it's not Tobey Maguire in space, because I actually, when it was zooming out, my biggest theory was like, oh my God, they're going to show another Earth because it's an incursion. But that other Earth is actually Battle World, and the post-credit scene for Doomsday, the first person that's going to be there is going to be Tom Holland Spider-Man.
I also think that's, like I kind of mentioned a little bit ago, a couple of weeks ago, I very much could see Tom Holland Spider-Man being a very big factor in Secret Wars, a very sort of how
and nearly every Secret Wars run, he is a crucial factor, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could just see him being the sort of, all those team-up movies have a pseudo main character, or at least a main group of two. I could see Tom Holland Spider-Man being the sort of main initiator in Secret Wars, whether it's from what I mentioned earlier about the spell and the Peter Parker thing, being able to sort of counteract Doom's memory wiping magic, or just for whatever reason. Oh, it could be that. I think it's
so
this end credit scene could be Battleworld.
It could be Spider-Man from the Fantastic Four universe. It could be anyone.
I think if Miles is out there universally, he's the Spider-Man on the X-Men universe. It's the only thing that kind of makes sense.
It could be Peter got pruned and he got taken to the void. It could be the Earth from the Fantastic Four that he's on, because we still don't know how they get here, if they bring their whole planet with them or what, using that technology from their movie, because that was built up quite a bit. So maybe they're bringing the whole Earth here, or we don't know. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting thing how open-ended it is.
Well, with how long this conversation is going, I think we are going to continue with our Doomsday discussions. I think those are going to continue to ramp up, and maybe we will prompt each Doomsday discussion, as we have already, with Red String Theories. We'll come back and revisit this post-credit scene. We'll come back and revisit Fantastic Four end credit scene, because I think there's some other interesting points to talk about post-Comic-Con.
Yep.
I mean, I could easily envision us continuing this conversation for another 3 hours. There's plenty to talk about. And we will be revisiting Brand New Day in our rewatch. So this won't be the last we talk about Brand New Day.
Can I run down a list real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty much I think this is the equivalent of James Gunn's Superman, or for our Spider-Man movies. I think seeing people really hey, this movie's great that it just ends with be a good person. I don't think the emotional base of that was fully reached in the movie. I think a lot of scenes get close to that, but I wish that they found a through line for a lot of the themes in the movie. I don't know. I feel like they just didn't reach the peak of what was possible there. Especially since we already knew, kind of knew where it was going based off the ending scene in the last movie. I wish Rent was more of a struggle for Peter because of the, I understand him having the AI system. He already had the phone at the end of the last movie and that improving, but I wish that the rent and stuff like that was more of a struggle, since he doesn't have anybody to rely on that for, and he doesn't use his powers to make money, which I think is also an important thing. But I feel like that would be great, because obviously everyone's still finishing their college year in this movie. So you could have had Ingori Rice's Betty Brant come back in the next movie from her college or wherever she's at. And Flash Thompson, obviously all of them. And then you could have the Daily Bugle be back in this. I think J. Jonah Jameson wasn't in this movie because they're focusing on the positivity of Spider-Man, not the negativity. But I think that the next movie, struggling with that and having the Daily Bugle and maybe some Venom stuff, would have been really interesting. So I kind of wish that Rent was a struggle, so then it would set up him getting a job at the Daily Bugle in the next movie. Because I think that we should enter that phase with Peter here, since he's an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Daredevil was not in the movie, which I forgot about that theory even at all when I was watching the movie.
Yeah.
And it was after I watched it, and I was like, oh, I kind of wonder how people are going to feel about that.
As soon
that
as
they
I
kinda
realized
just
that it was damage control, and
avoided
he was
it.
fighting the hand and not a prison, I instantly knew it was no Daredevil, which is okay.
Well, it's
It's
just
okay.
weird. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. I'm totally fine with Daredevil not being in the movie, but Punisher acting like he's never had a good friend after watching him in Daredevil. Like, I understand that they argue a lot, but like, I don't know. I was like, I understand he's never had a friend as much like Peter, but still, like, I feel like they're kind of sidelining when all this Daredevil stuff's going on at this moment. Also on a TV, we see that Hulk was put in a psych ward after what happened. I think that's interesting. I think that might help turn, like we said, a lot of people turning against mutants and stuff like that and wanting the chips more involved to restrain their powers. So I was like, oh wow, Hulk's in the psych ward. Like, I can't remember how long it's been since that happened. So I thought that was a pretty interesting detail. This movie also was making an insane box office launch for the MCU. Beat
That's what I just saw.
with domestic
Opening
stuff.
weekend globally, it almost made $1 billion, which is just nuts.
Which is insane because I figured this movie would do well but not reach that.
I
Because
certainly did not think so.
there
They're never
isn't
gonna
the
stop making
allure
Spider-Man
of
movies.
I know, but it's just I didn't see the allure for other audiences since there was no. We probably think that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be in this, and Goblin was in the trailer. Like, there wasn't that pull.
I think that's just the
So I
aura
was
of
surprised
freaking
by it.
Spider-Man. Like, people.
Well, that's the thing that I tell people is like, I don't know, like, Doomsday's doing great. I don't think Doomsday's not going to do great. But Spider-Man, everyone knows. Families will go and see him a lot more than some of these other movies. And he just has that pull for audiences. I think more
like
so
it's
than
just the name
Superman, Batman, anybody.
Spider-Man and Batman are the two. Because even Superman sort of lost commercial
I still think
commercialness.
more people, especially families, are open to see a Spider-Man movie than a Batman movie.
Agreed. I think Spider-Man is the
Because you
number
never
one,
know
like,
how dark the Batman stuff's
recognizable
going to
IP
get.
sort of like you put the name Spider-Man in a movie and you're going to have hundreds of people interested. More than
But the box office is incredible. I think it's great for the MCU. And I think that hopefully that really keeps them going with the Spider-Man stuff. Score-wise, I gave this movie a 20 out of 25. I just want to note that before we jump back into it on the podcast. And yeah, those are just my notes. I was getting out of the way.
Well, I'm looking forward to you rescoring when we have our rewatch to see kind of how you feel about it. I know we certainly will rewatch this at home when we do have it. I'm going to be rewatching it again in movie theater, hopefully in a better viewing experience. I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Illuminati Takeover of the Sacred Rewatch. We hope you enjoyed diving all over the timeline with us. Catch us over on the Sacred Rewatch podcast if you have an opportunity. We have fantastic content going out there. It's not only just a movie breakdown and project breakdown, because we're watching movies, we're watching TV shows from Disney Plus, from the Netflix shows, we're watching one-shots, we're watching specials. We are literally watching 431 hours of content. And if you really want to break it down, it's probably 5% of that we're actually recording content. And we just have a great time. We've been doing this for a while now. So if you want to go see other people have a great time talking about these projects and take something away from it before you go watch Doomsday, this is the podcast for you. New recap episodes are coming out not only just once a week anymore, they are coming out multiple times a week. We're finishing our final push leading up to Doomsday. So wherever you are in the multiverse, thanks for making the Sacred Rewatch part of your journey. For all time, always. See you guys.